Lazaro Dante's Bentley wasn't supposed to be in the driveway. Nancy Hart feels her stomach drop as she spots it through the kitchen window 3 hours early. The engine is still ticking. Warm, recent. Her hands freeze over the dinner she's preparing. His favorite, chicken marsala, the same meal she's made every Thursday for 2 years. The same meal she watched his wife taste test yesterday with that strange smile. The same meal that made her feel sick this morning when she caught the scent of bitter almonds underneath the wine sauce. She moves toward the hallway, drawn by voices. Lo, urgent, wrong. Then she hears it, Lazaro's footsteps, heavy and uneven, coming toward the kitchen. Nancy drops the wooden spoon and rushes to intercept him. He rounds a corner, face pale, tie loosened, confusion in his eyes that have ordered men to their deaths, but now look lost as a child's. Nancy, I don't feel. She clamps her hand over his mouth, pulls him backward into the pantry. His body is already swaying. Stay quiet, she whispers against his ear, her heart hammering so hard she's certain he can feel it. Don't talk. Don't make a sound. Your life depends on it. Through the crack in the door, she sees them enter the kitchen, his wife Sophia and his trusted Lieutenant Andrea, the man he calls brother. They're laughing, actually laughing. How long? Andrea asks, checking his watch. The dose I gave him this morning? You should be unconscious at the office within the hour, Sophia says, stirring the pot Nancy abandoned. Then the tragic heart attack at his desk. So sudden, so young. Nancy feels Lazaro's body go rigid against hers. In that moment, she realizes the man who everyone fears has been dying slowly for months, poisoned by the two people he trusted most. And she, the invisible maid he barely acknowledges, is the only thing standing between him and a grave. I know you're desperate to know what happens next. But listen, if this story is gripping your heart right now, I need 2 seconds from you. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Comment where you're watching from, any country, any emoji, just let me know you're here. Thousands watch, but only a few subscribe. Be different. Support real storytelling. Now let me show you how Nancy saved a dying man. 2 years earlier, Nancy Hart had walked into the Dante mansion with a rolling suitcase and a heart full of hope. The agency said the position was live-in, 6 days a week, generous salary. What they didn't say was that she'd become invisible. Lazaro Dante barely looked at her during their first meeting. He'd been on his phone, discussing shipping routes and territory disputes in rapid Italian, while his wife Sophia conducted the actual interview. You'll prepare meals, maintain the household, and most importantly, be discreet, Sophia had said, her manicured nails drumming on the marble table. Red nails. Always red. My husband values his privacy above all else. Nancy had nodded, needing the job too desperately to notice the way Sophia's smile never reached her eyes. The mansion became her entire world. She learned Lazaro's routines with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker. Coffee at 6, black, 2 sugars. Breakfast at 7, always protein-heavy before his morning meetings. Lunch was unpredictable, depending on his schedule. Dinner at 8 sharp when he was home, which was less and less frequent. She learned his tells too, the ones he probably didn't know he had. The way he rubbed his left temple when a headache was coming. The slight limp on rainy days from an old bullet wound. The reading glasses he was too proud to wear in front of his men. In those 2 years, he'd spoken directly to her maybe a dozen times. The coffee's too bitter. My blue suit for tomorrow. Thank you, Nancy. That last one, just once, when she'd worked through the night to prepare food for his mother's funeral reception. 3 words that made her feel human again. She noticed things changing about 6 months ago. Lazaro started looking tired, then exhausted, then ill. She'd find him gripping the banister, catching his breath. She'd see him slip pills from an unmarked bottle, wincing. Mr. Dante is working too hard, Sophia would say with perfect wifely concern, whenever Nancy's eyes lingered too long. The business is demanding. He refuses to slow down. And Nancy, just the maid, would nod and return to her duties. But she'd also noticed the way Andrea started visiting more often. The way he and Sophia would have coffee in the sunroom, their laughter a little too comfortable. The way Sophia insisted on preparing Lazaro's morning espresso herself now, shooing Nancy away from the kitchen those first crucial minutes of the day. Red flags Nancy saw, but dismissed because what did she know about marriage, about mafia politics, about people whose lives were worth noticing? Last week, Lazaro had collapsed in the hallway. Nancy found him there at dawn, trying to pull himself up using the console table. Their eyes met. Really met, maybe for the first time. "I'm fine," he'd said, but let her help him to his room anyway. His skin had been clammy, his pulse erratic. "Should I call someone? A doctor?" "No doctors. Sophia worries too much already." Nancy had noticed the tremor in his hands. The same tremor her father had before the heart attack that killed him. But Lazaro Dante was only 38. This morning, before preparing Thursday's dinner, Nancy had done something she'd never done before. She'd tasted the Marsala wine sauce that Sophia insisted on making herself each week. Just a tiny amount on her finger. The bitter almond taste had made her gag. She'd stood at that stove, memories flooding back. Her grandmother's warnings about old poisons, her criminology courses from the community college she'd never finished, late-night mystery novels that taught her what slow death looked like. Then Lazaro's Bentley appeared in the driveway, hours early. And Nancy made a choice. In the pantry's darkness, Lazaro's breathing is shallow against her shoulder. Through the crack in the door, Nancy watches Sophia ladle sauce into a container. "We'll bring this to the office," Sophia says to Andrea. "His secretary will insist he eat." She's so devoted. Her voice drips with mockery. Within an hour of eating this final dose, he'll collapse. Heart failure. The coroner's already prepared to rule it natural causes. Our family doctor will confirm Lazaro's been under tremendous stress. Andrea moves closer to Sophia, his hand sliding around her waist in a way that makes Nancy's stomach turn. And then you become acting head of the family, as his most trusted lieutenant. I become the grieving widow who naturally turns to you for protection. Sophia turns in his arms. 6 months of mourning, then we marry. The territory, the businesses, everything, ours. Brilliant. Andrea kisses her neck. Slow poisoning. Months of building symptoms. No one suspects. Why would they? I'm the devoted wife, always by his side. Sophia laughs, and it's the coldest sound Nancy has ever heard. The fool actually thinks I love him. Nancy feels Lazaro's entire body go rigid. His hand, trembling, reaches for his gun. She grabs his wrist, shakes her head frantically. He's in no condition to fight. The poison has weakened him too much. She can feel the fever radiating from his skin. "We should go," Andrea says. Traffic to his office building. Their footsteps recede. A door closes. Engine sounds. Then silence. Nancy counts to 100 before releasing Lazaro. He stumbles out of the pantry, catches himself on the counter. His face has gone from pale to gray. "How long?" His voice is rough, broken. "Have you known?" "Since this morning. I tasted the sauce. Bitter almonds, arsenic maybe. But Mr. Dante, you need a hospital right now, no." He's breathing hard, each word an effort. Andrea owns half the doctors in this city. Sophia's family has the other half. He looks at Nancy, really looks at her. Why save me? The question hangs between them. Nancy thinks of 2 years of invisibility, of being furniture in her own life. But she also thinks of that single thank you of the human being underneath the mafia boss exterior. Because it's wrong, she says simply, and because nobody deserves to die like that. Lazaro's legs give out. Nancy catches him, struggling under his weight. "We have to go. Now. They'll know something's wrong when you don't collapse at the office. Can you walk?" "I can try." But he can't. Nancy half carries him to the service entrance, her mind racing. Her car. No, they could track that. His cars. All probably have GPS. Her phone. Might be monitored if they're this thorough. My truck, Lazaro manages. Service vehicle. In the garage. Key. In the workshop. Nancy finds it. A beat-up Ford pickup he apparently uses for property inspections. She loads him into the passenger seat, his head lolling against the window. "Where am I taking you?" "Away." His eyes are closing. Can't trust anyone. Andrea, everywhere. Nancy, I'm here. Don't let me sleep. If I sleep, he doesn't finish, but she understands. The poison is reaching critical levels. Sleep might be permanent. She drives, hands shaking on the wheel, out of the estate, past the security gates that know her face, onto the highway. In the rearview mirror, the mansion disappears. Lazaro keeps trying to reach for his phone. Nancy grabs it from him, powered off. They'll track it. Need to warn who? You said Andrea owns everyone. She's crying now, terrified. Mr. Dante, who can we trust? He's quiet for so long she thinks he's unconscious. Then you. I can trust you. The words break something in her chest. She takes the next exit, pulls into a strip mall, and finds his watch, a $50,000 Patek Philippe. She opens the door and drops it in a trash can. Hey, they can track anything electronic. Your phone, your watch. Everything from your old life stays behind. Nancy drives to the only place she can think of, her apartment, the one she's kept but barely used, 40 minutes away in a neighborhood the Dante family would never notice. It's small, clean, simple. Everything the mansion isn't. She helps Lazaro up 3 flights of stairs, his arm over her shoulder, his breathing labored. Neighbors stare but don't intervene. In this neighborhood, you mind your business. Inside, he collapses on her sofa. Nancy locks the door, closes the blinds, and finally lets herself think. The most powerful mafia boss in the city is dying on her second-hand couch. His wife and best friend want him dead. And she, Nancy Hart, 32-year-old Maid with a half-finished degree and a studio apartment, is all that stands between him and a grave. Nancy's apartment is maybe 400 square feet of humble reality. Thrift store furniture, plants in mismatched pots, books stacked in corners. No marble, no chandeliers, no designer anything. Just clean and honest, the way she's tried to keep her life. Lazaro looks alien here, his custom Italian suit incongruous against her faded blue sofa. Nancy fills a basin with cool water, grabs clean towels. His fever is spiking, sweat soaking through his shirt. She unbuttons his collar, loosens his tie. He's semi-conscious, muttering in Italian. She presses a cool cloth to his forehead. Mr. Dante, can you hear me? I need you to stay with me. His eyes flutter open. Nancy, just her name, but it sounds different than the dozen times he said it before. Like he's actually seeing her. I'm going to call someone, she says. A doctor I trust. From my church. He won't ask questions. Dangerous. Everything's dangerous now. But you need help I can't give you. She uses her neighbor's phone, explains nothing, just gives an address, and says it's urgent. Dr. Williams arrives, 20 minutes later, a retired physician who volunteers at the community clinic. He's seen Nancy at services, knows her as reliable and honest. He asks no questions when he sees Lazaro, just opens his medical bag. How long has he been symptomatic? Months, I think, but got bad today. Nancy shows him the container she grabbed from her apartment's trash, the marsala sauce in a mason jar, saved from yesterday's testing. I think it's poison. Arsenic, maybe. Dr. Williams tests Lazaro's vitals, looks at his eyes, his tremors. This man needs a hospital. Full toxicology, dialysis possibly, can't. Lazaro's voice is stronger now. They'll kill me there. Contract. Everywhere. The doctor looks between them, understanding passing through his eyes. He's practiced in this neighborhood long enough to recognize when questions are dangerous. Then we do what we can hear. He administers activated charcoal, starts in 4 for fluids and chelation therapy from supplies in his trunk. This will help, but it's temporary. He needs proper treatment. How long? Nancy asks. How long has he been poisoned? Based on these symptoms? Months. Low doses building up. Whoever did this was patient. Smart. Another dose today might have been fatal. Lazaro grips Nancy's hand. His palm is clammy, shaking, but the grip is firm. You saved my life. Not yet, she says. But she doesn't pull her hand away. Dr. Williams works for an hour, then pulls Nancy aside. He'll stabilize temporarily. But Nancy, this man has been systematically poisoned. The damage to his organs. Without proof, without proper authorities, I know. She does know. Saving him from today's final dose isn't enough. They need to expose Sophia and Andrea. Need evidence. Need justice. There's a nurse at the clinic, Dr. Williams says quietly. Former police forensics. She might be able to help test that sauce you saved, establish proof. Legal proof. Would she, for you? Yes. You helped her daughter last year, remember? When she couldn't make rent and was on a drop out of school. You paid it anonymously, but she knows it was you. Nancy had forgotten that. It was just something you do when you can, when someone needs help. Thank you. After the doctor leaves, Nancy sits beside Lazaro. The four drips steadily. His breathing has evened out, the fever reducing. Why? He asks into the quiet. You could have let me die. Taken money from the safe in my study. Yes, I know you know the combination. I've watched you dust that room for 2 years. You've never touched a single dollar. That's not who I am. Who are you, Nancy Hart? It's the first time he's asked. The first time anyone in that mansion has cared. I'm someone who believes people matter. All people. Even Mafia bosses. She manages a small smile. Even invisible maids. You were never invisible to me. His eyes meet hers. I noticed everything. The way you always made my coffee exactly right. How you knew when I needed silence and when I needed the radio playing. The book you're always reading during your breaks, Dostoevsky. Crime and Punishment. Nancy's breath catches. You noticed that? I notice everything. It's how I've stayed alive this long. He laughs bitterly. Apparently not everything. A knock at the door makes them both freeze. Nancy peers through the peephole. Mrs. Jones from across the hall with a covered dish. Heard you had someone sick, she calls. Brought soup. Nancy opens the door just enough to accept the container. Thank you, Mrs. Jones. Chinese healing soup. Very good for strength. The old woman tries to peer inside, but Nancy blocks the view with her body. After she leaves, Lazaro shakes his head. Your neighbors care about you. That's what happens when you treat people like people. The words come out sharper than intended, but he nods. Point taken. He shifts on the sofa, wincing. Nancy, they'll come looking eventually. Why don't die on schedule? Sophia and Andrea, they won't stop. Then we don't just hide. Nancy's jaw sets with determination she didn't know she possessed. We fight back. We expose them. We make sure everyone knows what they did. With what evidence? That sauce is evidence. Dr. Williams's forensic nurse can test it. Your symptoms, your medical records, controlled by Sophia's family doctor. Then we get new doctors, independent ones. We build a case. Lazaro studies her like she's a puzzle he's trying to solve. You do this? Risk everything? You could walk away right now. Disappear. They barely know you exist. I can't unknow what I know. Can't unsee what I've seen. Nancy looks at him directly. And despite everything you are, everything you've done, nobody deserves to be murdered by the people they love. The word love hangs between them. Lazaro closes his eyes, and Nancy sees the pain there that has nothing to do with poison. I did love her. Sophia. I gave her everything. I know. Nancy says softly. I saw you with her. The way you looked at her. And she wanted me dead. Yes. No point in softening it. But she didn't win. You're alive. And we're going to make sure everyone knows what she is. Lazaro opens his eyes, and there's something new there. Not the cold Mafia boss she's seen for 2 years. Something raw and real and human. Okay, Nancy Hart, tell me your plan. Morning brings clarity and concrete steps. Nancy contacts Dr. Williams's colleague, the forensic nurse named Patricia Okafor. She arrives at noon with a testing kit. No questions, just quiet competence born from years of processing evidence. Patricia tests the marsala sauce in Nancy's kitchen like it's a professional lab, her movements precise and practiced. Lazaro watches from the sofa, color slowly returning to his face thanks to the chelation therapy and fluids. Definitely arsenic, Patricia confirms after 30 minutes. Significant concentration, enough to kill if consumed fully. But you said he's been sick for months? At least 6, Nancy says. Started subtle. Fatigue, headaches, classic chronic arsenic poisoning. Patricia photographs the sauce, documents everything with meticulous care. This is attempted murder, but you'll need more than my unofficial tests. We need official toxicology on him, done somewhere they can't influence. I know a hospital, Lazaro says. 3 hours north. Completely independent. The chief administrator owes me a favor. A real one, not a bought one. I saved his daughter from a trafficking ring 2 years ago. Nancy looks at him, reminded suddenly that the man on her sofa isn't just a victim. He's someone with power, with resources, with a complicated history of both violence and unexpected mercy. Can you trust him? With this? Yes. Patricia packs her samples carefully. I'll run these through a friend's private lab. Official documentation. Should have results in 48 hours. Meanwhile, she looks at Lazaro. Need comprehensive blood work, hair sample analysis, the works. Arsenic leaves traces. We can build a timeline of poisoning. The hospital north of here can do that, Nancy says. But how do we get there without them tracking us? My way, says a new voice from the doorway. Nancy spins. She'd locked that door. She knows she had. Pastor Timothy stands there, hands raised peacefully. He's a broad-shouldered man in his 60s, the kind of presence that commands a room through quiet authority rather than volume. He leads the church Nancy attends when she can. Mrs. Jones called me, he explains. Said you had trouble. I know trouble when I hear it. Nancy, I've also been a pastor in this neighborhood for 30 years. I know when to ask questions and when to just help. Pastor, Nancy starts. I have a van. Church van, registered to the diocese. Nobody's tracking that. I can drive you wherever you need to go. He looks at Lazaro. I don't know your story, son, but I know Nancy. If she's helping you, you're worth helping. Lazaro struggles to stand. Nancy helps him up. Thank you, Pastor. Save your thanks. Just promise me whatever you're running from, you'll face it the right way. No more violence than absolutely necessary. The pastor's eyes are sharp. I know who you are, Mr. Dante. I've buried boys who worked for you. I've also buried boys you saved from worse fates. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help Nancy, and if that means helping you, so be it. The right way, Lazaro agrees. Evidence. Law. Justice. Good enough. Pastor Timothy produces keys. We leave in an hour. They prepare quickly. Nancy packs a small bag, clothes, essentials, the mason jar of poison sauce sealed in plastic. Patricia provides documentation of her preliminary findings. Lazaro makes one call from a burner phone Pastor Timothy provides, speaking in low tones to someone he calls Enzo. My cousin, he explains after hanging up. One of the few family members Andrea hasn't corrupted. He'll meet us at the hospital, bring clothes, cash, clean phones. He's also going to start quietly investigating Andrea's finances. If they're planning a takeover, there'll be money trails. Can you trust him? Nancy asks. He's blood. Real blood. Not like Andrea, who I chose to trust. The bitterness is evident. Enzo's straight. Runs a legitimate construction business. Always hated the family operations. They leave at dusk, Nancy and Lazaro in the back of the church van beneath blankets and donated clothing bags. Pastor Timothy's idea. If anyone stops us, it's just me delivering donations to the northern parish. Nobody looks twice at a church van. The drive is tense. Nancy can hear Lazaro's breathing beside her in the dark, still labored but stronger than yesterday. Their hands find each other under the blankets, an anchor in the uncertainty. Nancy, he whispers, if this doesn't work, it will work. But if it doesn't, if they find us, you run, you disappear. Take the money Enzo will bring and you vanish. No, Nancy, I said no. Her hand tightens on his. We finish this together or not at all. He's quiet for a moment. Then, so soft she almost misses it. No one's ever chosen to stay with me before. Everyone's always had an angle, a price, something they wanted. I just want you to live. Why? The question again, but different now. More vulnerable. Because everyone deserves someone in their corner. Everyone deserves one person who sees them as human, not as useful. Nancy's voice catches. You gave me a job when I desperately needed one. You said thank you once, and it meant everything. That's enough reason. Being human to each other. It should be enough reason. The van slows. Pastor Timothy calls back. We're here. The hospital is small, private, exclusive. Enzo waits at a side entrance. A barrel-chested man with Lazaro's eyes, but without the hardness. He embraces his cousin carefully, shocked at how frail Lazaro has become. Madonna. Enzo breathes. What do they do to you? Try to kill me. Still trying. Lazaro straightens with visible effort. I need your help, Cugino. Anything. Enzo produces a duffel bag. Cash, phones, clothes like you asked. I also brought this. He pulls out a small device. Audio recorder. Top quality. If you need to get confessions, evidence, whatever, this will capture it. Nancy takes the recorder, an idea forming. We could go back. To the mansion. Lazaro could confront them. Record it. Too dangerous. Enzo protests. They'd kill him the moment they saw him. Not if I'm already dead, Lazaro says slowly. Not if the hospital declares me deceased. The hospital administrator, Dr. Elizabeth Frost, listens to their plan with the calm of someone who's seen too much to be easily shocked. She's a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who greets Lazaro with genuine warmth. I told you when you saved Maria that I'd owe you forever, she says. I meant it. What do you need? Lazaro explains. The poisoning, the attempted murder, the need for documentation, and a cover story. I need you to admit me under a false name, run complete toxicology, and then, if Nancy's plan works, declare me dead. Officially, Dr. Frost considers. That's falsifying a death certificate. I could lose my license. I know. I wouldn't ask if I didn't say no. She cuts him off. I said it's serious. But my daughter is alive because of you. Those trafficking rings would have destroyed her. So yes, I'll do it. But we do this right, with documentation that will stand up in court when you expose these people. Over the next 12 hours, the hospital runs every test imaginable. Blood work, hair analysis, organ function scans. The results paint a grim picture. Chronic arsenic poisoning over approximately 6 months, Dr. Frost explains, showing them the lab reports. Significant organ damage, particularly to the kidneys and liver. Another dose like the one you avoided would likely have been fatal. As it stands, you'll need ongoing treatment, possibly for the rest of your life. But I'll have a life, Lazaro says. Thanks to Nancy. The doctor's eyes move between them, reading something there. Yes, thanks to Nancy. She prints multiple copies of all results, each stamped and certified. This is your evidence. Medical proof of systematic poisoning. Combined with that sauce sample and testimony, you have a case. Now the death certificate, Nancy says. Dr. Frost nods and begins typing. Lazaro Dante, admitted under the name Andrea Rossi at 8 p.m. yesterday. Cause of death, acute heart failure secondary to arsenic poisoning. Time of death, 3:47 a.m. She prints it, signs it, makes it official. He's legally dead. You have maybe 72 hours before too many people start asking questions. Use them wisely. Enzo drives them to a safe house he owns, a small cottage on property his construction company uses for storage. No connection to the family, all in my business's name. You'll be safe here for a few days. That night, Nancy and Lazaro plan. He's stronger now, the hospital's aggressive chelation therapy having cleared much of the arsenic from his system. The medical team warned he's not at full strength, may never be again, but he's alive and functioning. Tomorrow, I go back, Lazaro says. I confront them with the recorder running. Get them to confess. Not alone, Nancy insists. I go with you. Absolutely not. You're still weak. You need backup. And I'm the one they'll never suspect. I'm just the maid, remember? Invisible. She meets his eyes. Besides, I started this by saving you. I'm finishing it. He wants to argue, but sees the steel in her expression. Okay, but we do this smart. Enzo will be outside with security I trust. Real security, not Andrea's people. Pastor Timothy will have police standing by, ones from outside the city that can't be bought. The moment we have the confession recorded, they move in, and if something goes wrong, Nancy asks, then you run, and Enzo makes sure the evidence gets out anyway. But nothing's going wrong. He takes her hands. Nancy, after this is over, after they're arrested, after, she says, we'll talk about after when we survive the before. He nods, but his eyes hold something that makes her breath catch. Something that's been building in the tension and terror, an unlikely partnership of the last 48 hours. The morning breaks cold and clear. Nancy dresses in her usual maid's uniform, the one that makes her invisible in the mansion's halls. The small recording device sits in her pocket, no bigger than a key fob. Lazaro wears a dark suit Enzo brought, his funeral suit, ironically. He's pale still, but standing straight, and there's a hardness in his eyes that wasn't there before. Not the casual cruelty of a mafia boss, but the focused intensity of a man who's seen death and chosen to fight back. Enzo drives them within a block of the mansion. I'll be here with the team. Any trouble, you signal. He hands Nancy a phone. Speed dial 1. That's all you need to do. Pastor Timothy meets them at the corner. Police are standing by. Detective I trust from the State Bureau. Soon as you give the word, they move in with warrants. Thank you, Nancy says. The pastor pulls her aside. You're brave, Nancy. Braver than you know. But remember, courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right despite the fear. You feel that fear? Yes. Good. Keeps you sharp. Now go get justice. Nancy and Lazaro approach the mansion from the service entrance, the way Nancy always enters. The gate code hasn't been changed. Why would it be when everyone thinks Lazaro is dead? They slip through the gardens. Early morning quiet broken only by bird song. The house looms ahead, beautiful and terrible. I lived here for 5 years, Lazaro murmurs. Never felt like home. Not like your 400-square-foot apartment felt in 2 days. Nancy squeezes his hand once, then releases it. They need to be in character now. She's the maid. He's the ghost. They enter through the kitchen. Nancy's domain. Everything is as she left it 3 days ago, except there's champagne on the counter. An empty bottle, 2 glasses. Celebration. The sight turns Nancy's stomach. Voices drift from the dining room. Sophia and Andrea, having breakfast like they own the place. Because they think they do now. Lazaro nods to Nancy. She presses the button on the recorder in her pocket, then leads the way. They round the corner together. The effect is instantaneous and spectacular. Sophia drops her coffee cup. It shatters on the marble floor, black liquid spreading like blood. Andrea half rises, his hand going automatically to where his gun would be, but he's in casual clothes, unarmed at breakfast. Hello, wife, Lazaro says. His voice is steady, cold as winterstone. Surprised to see me? Lazaro. Sophia's face cycles through shock, fear, calculation. She lands on joy, manufactured and perfect. Oh my God, we thought you were dead. The hospital called, they said, how are you alive? What happened? Good question. Lazaro walks further into the room, Nancy shadowing him. Why don't you tell me what happened, Sophia? You seem surprised I'm not dead. That's not. I'm surprised you're alive. We've been grieving. She's recovering now, slipping into her role. There was a call yesterday from some hospital up north, saying you died of a heart attack, but they wouldn't release the body, and we were going to drive up there today to bring you home. Liar, Nancy says. The single word cuts through Sophia's performance. Both Sophia and Andrea turn to her, as if noticing her for the first time. Excuse me? Sophia's voice drops to ice. The maid speaks now. The maid, Nancy says steadily, who's been invisible in this house for 2 years. The maid who heard everything 3 days ago when you and Andrea discussed how you've been poisoning Lazaro for months. The maid who saved his life. Andrea's face hardens. His hand moves toward a drawer in the sideboard where Nancy knows he keeps a backup weapon. I wouldn't, Lazaro says softly. Look out the window, Andrea. The garden. Do you see them? Andrea glances out, sees shadows moving. Enzo's security team, positioning. You're bluffing. Those are my men. Your men left yesterday when they learned you tried to kill me. Turns out loyalty matters to some people. Lazaro's smile is sharp as a blade. Most of them are willing to testify against you, actually, for the right incentives. Sophia stands now, backing toward the wall. This is insane. Lazaro, you're clearly unwell. Paranoid. The stress has affected your mind. The arsenic affected my mind, Lazaro corrects. The arsenic you've been feeding me for 6 months. In my coffee. In my food. Slow and steady, building up until one final massive dose would look like natural heart failure. You can't prove? Actually, he can. Nancy pulls out her phone, shows them photos. The marsala sauce in the lab. Test results. Hospital documentation. Arsenic. significant concentrations, combined with 6 months of chronic poisoning documented in Lazaro's medical test from an independent hospital, plus my testimony about what I overheard. She looks at Sophia. How you laughed about the fool actually thinking you loved him. Sophia's mass cracks. The concerned wife disappears, replaced by something cold and calculating. No one will believe the maid over me. My family has already distanced themselves. Andrea speaks for the first time, and his voice is resigned. I got a call this morning. Your father cut you off, Sophia. Apparently, the state police contacted him about the investigation. He's not protecting you from this. You knew. Sophia rounds on him. You knew they were investigating, and you didn't warn me? I found out an hour ago. Andrea looks at Lazaro. I am sorry. For what it's worth. You treated me like a brother, and you tried to kill me for money and power. Lazaro's voice is hard. And for her. Don't insult me with apologies now, Andrea. You're right. Andrea sits back down, defeated. We did it. All of it. The slow poisoning, planning to deliver the final dose at your office. Sophia made the arsenic mixture. I arranged the bribes, the coroner, the family doctor, the hospital staff who would have confirmed natural causes. Andrea, Sophia hisses. They're recording this, you idiot. Stop talking. It's over, Sophia. Andrea looks tired suddenly, older. Look at him. He's alive. He has evidence. We're done. I'm not done. Sophia's composure shatters completely. She grabs the steak knife from the table, whirls toward Nancy. This is your fault. You couldn't just stay in your place, could you? Had to be the hero, had to save him. She lunges. Lazaro intercepts, still weakened, but fast enough. They grapple. The knife clatters away. Andrea doesn't move to help, just watches with hollow eyes as the woman he betrayed everything for tries to murder the maid. Security bursts in, Enzo leading them. Then police, flooding through the front entrance. Detective Sarah Jones from the State Bureau, handcuffs already out. Sophia Dante, Andrea Volpe, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and racketeering. She reads them their rights, while uniformed officers separate Sophia from Lazaro. Sophia is screaming now, all pretense gone. He's a criminal, a killer. You're arresting me for trying to kill a monster. We're arresting you for murder, conspiracy, and poisoning. Detective Jones says calmly. Whatever else he is, you don't get to poison your husband. That's still illegal. Nancy realizes she's shaking. The adrenaline that carried her through the confrontation is draining away, leaving her hollow. Lazaro appears at her side, his hand on her shoulder. You did it, he says quietly. We did it. She watches as they lead Sophia and Andrea away in handcuffs. Andrea goes quietly, but Sophia fights every step, hurling threats and accusations. Nancy! Lazaro turns her to face him. The recorder. Did it capture everything? She pulls it out, hands trembling. Everything. Their confession. Andrea admitting to the bribes. Sophia's attack. Then it's really over. He pulls her into his arms, and she feels the tremor still in his muscles, the weakness the poison left behind. But she also feels his heartbeat, steady and alive. You saved my life twice now, he murmurs against her hair. Who's counting? I am. He pulls back, looks at her, and I'm going to spend however much time I have left trying to be worth saving. The aftermath unfolds in the mansion's living room while police process the crime scene. Detective Jones takes their statements, records the evidence, arranges for the official medical examiner to review Dr. Frost's findings. This is one of the most well-documented attempted murders I've ever seen, she admits. The hospital records, the lab results on the sauce, the recorded confession, multiple witnesses. The DA is going to love this case. How long until trial? Lazaro asks. Months, probably, but they'll be held without bail. Attempted murder of this magnitude, flight risk, family connections. They're not getting out. Detective Jones looks at Nancy. You're going to be the star witness. The one who overheard the initial planning, saved his life, gathered evidence. You ready for that? Nancy thinks about the woman she was 3 days ago. Invisible, ignored, content to stay small and unnoticed. Then she thinks about the woman she is now, the one who chose to act, to risk everything for what was right. I'm ready. After the police leave with their evidence and prisoners, Lazaro sinks into an armchair, exhausted. Enzo hovers nearby. You should rest, Cugino. You're still recovering. I will. But first, he looks around the mansion, at the marble and gold and expensive emptiness. I need to sell this place. I can't live here anymore. Too many ghosts. Where will you go? Enzo asks. I don't know yet. Lazaro's eyes find Nancy. Somewhere honest, maybe. Somewhere small. Somewhere that feels like home. Nancy's heart skips. Mr. Dante Lazaro. Please. After everything, just Lazaro. Lazaro. She tries the name, likes how it feels. What happens now? With your business, your organization? I'm stepping back. Way back. Enzo's going to help me transition the legitimate businesses to legal management. The illegal operations, I'm shutting them down or handing them to the authorities. He sees her surprise. You saved my life, Nancy. The least I can do is try to deserve that second chance. Pastor Timothy enters, surveys the expensive chaos. Everyone alive and arrested. Who should be arrested? Yes, Nancy confirms. Good. Now come on, both of you. You're staying at the church rectory tonight. This house has bad energy. Pastor, I'm grateful, but Lazaro starts. You're staying at the rectory, Pastor Timothy repeats firmly. I've got soup, clean beds, and no one trying to kill anyone. End of discussion. Despite everything, Nancy laughs. Lazaro does too, the sound rusty from disuse. They leave the mansion together, Nancy taking nothing but the recording device and her purse. Let the police sort through the rest. Let them catalog the evidence, process the crime scene, dismantle the lie of the perfect marriage. She's done with that world. In the church rectory's small kitchen, Pastor Timothy serves the soup Mrs. Jones made, and they eat in comfortable silence. Lazaro keeps looking at Nancy like he's trying to memorize her face. What? She finally asks. I'm trying to figure out when you stopped being just the maid and became the most important person in my life. The words hang in the air between them. Pastor Timothy coughs politely. I think that's my cue to go check on the evening service preparations. You two talk. After he leaves, Nancy and Lazaro sit across from each other at the worn wooden table. I'm not who you think I am, Lazaro says. I've done terrible things. Hurt people. Made choices I can never take back. I know. I'm not who you think I am either. I'm not some saint. I'm just someone who tries to do right when I can. Nancy meets his eyes. We're both just people, Lazaro. Complicated, imperfect people. Can complicated, imperfect people maybe he stops, starts again. After the trial, after everything settles, would you consider having dinner with me? Real dinner, not as employer and maid, but as people. Nancy offers, smiling. Yeah, people. Maybe people who could become something more. I'd like that. Yeah. But Lazaro, I need you to know, I'm not interested in the money, the power, any of that. If we do this, it's just us. Just two people trying to be better than they were. Just sounds perfect. He reaches across the table, takes her hand. I've had wealth, power, respect, fear. None of it meant anything. But you, sitting in your tiny apartment, making a plan to save my life, that meant everything. Nancy squeezes his hand. You would have done the same for me. I like to think so. But honestly, 3 days ago, I'm not sure I would have. You changed me, Nancy Hart. Saved my life and changed my soul. Then I guess we saved each other, Nancy says. Because I've been invisible so long, I forgot I could matter. You helped me remember. 3 months later, the trial is a media sensation. The Mafia boss's wife and his lieutenant, caught in a twisted murder plot, exposed by the loyal Maid. The story writes itself, and every news outlet covers the proceedings. Nancy sits in the witness box, calm and credible, walking the jury through every detail, finding the bitter almonds in the sauce, hiding Lazaro in the pantry, overhearing the confession, saving his life and gathering evidence. Sophia's defense attorney tries to paint her as a scheming outsider, someone who wanted Lazaro for herself, who fabricated the whole story. But the evidence is overwhelming. The medical records don't lie. The recorded confession is damning. Andrea's testimony. He took a plea deal and turned state's witness. Confirms every detail. The jury deliberates for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sophia receives 25 years. Andrea gets 15. Standing on the courthouse steps afterward, Lazaro addresses the gathered media. Nancy stands beside him, no longer invisible. "I want to thank Nancy Hart," he says clearly. "She saved my life at great personal risk. She's the reason I'm standing here today. She's also the reason I'm choosing a different path forward." He announces his retirement from all criminal enterprises, his cooperation with authorities to dismantle corruption in the city, his commitment to legitimate business only. "One person's courage can change everything," he concludes. Nancy proved that. "She's my hero." Later, away from cameras, they walk through the park near Nancy's apartment. She never moved back to the mansion, never wanted to. Lazaro bought a modest house nearby. Nothing like the sprawling estate, just a comfortable home in a good neighborhood. They've been taking it slow, having those dinners they talked about, learning each other as people rather than roles. "You really meant all that?" Nancy asks. "About changing?" "Every word. I'm working with the DA, helping identify corrupt officials, dismantling the networks. Enzo's helping me rebuild the legitimate businesses ethically. It's not glamorous, but it's honest." He stops walking, turns to her. "Nancy, I know it's only been 3 months. I know we agreed to take this slow, but I need you to know I'm in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. You're the best person I've ever known." Nancy's eyes fill with tears. "I love you too. I think I have since that moment in the pantry when you were dying and still tried to protect me. So what do we do about it?" "We keep taking it slow," Nancy says. "We keep learning each other. We build something real and honest and good. No rusing, no drama. Just 2 people choosing each other every day." "I can do that." Lazaro pulls her close, kisses her forehead. "For you, I can do anything." 6 months later, Nancy stands in a simple white dress in Pastor Timothy's church. It's a small ceremony. Enzo as best man, Patricia the forensic nurse as maid of honor, Dr. Frost and Dr. Williams in attendance, along with neighbors from Nancy's building and Mrs. Jones in the front row beaming with pride. Lazaro waits at the altar in a simple suit. No designer labels, no flash. Just a man who's learned that the most valuable things in life are the ones you can't buy. "Do you, Lazaro Dante, take Nancy Hart to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do. With everything I am, I do." "And do you, Nancy Hart, take Lazaro Dante to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Nancy looks at the man who used to be invisible to her boss, who became her partner in survival, who chose to be better because she believed he could be. "I do." Their kiss is simple, sweet, and perfect. The small congregation cheers. As they walk back down the aisle together, Nancy catches her reflection in the church window. She's not invisible anymore. She's not just a maid. She's Nancy Dante now. And she's finally completely visible to herself and to the man who learned to see her. Outside, Mrs. Jones throws rice. Enzo drives them to the reception at a local community center. No mansion, no excess, just good food and good people celebrating love that came from the least likely places. "Happy?" Lazaro asks, pulling Nancy into a dance. Deliriously, she admits. "I'm alive, married to the woman I love, and trying every day to be worthy of the second chance she gave me. I'm the happiest man alive." "Good. But Lazaro." "Yeah. The worthiness isn't about grand gestures or perfect behavior. It's about choosing love over fear, honesty over convenience, people over power. You do that every day now. You're already worthy." He holds her tighter. "How did I get so lucky?" "We both got lucky. We found each other." Nancy smiles against his shoulder. "And we chose to stay, even when it was dangerous, even when it was hard. That's not luck. That's love." They dance into the evening, 2 people who started as Mafia boss and invisible maid, who became partners in survival, and who chose to become something better together. The poison didn't win. The betrayal didn't destroy them. Instead, it revealed what matters most: courage, loyalty, and the transformative power of being truly seen by another human being. Sometimes the people who save us are the ones we never noticed. Sometimes the greatest love stories come from the most unlikely places. And sometimes being invisible is exactly what you need to be until the moment comes to step into the light and change everything. This story isn't just about a mafia boss and a maid. It's about the power of seeing people, really seeing them beyond their roles and titles. It's about the courage to act when it would be easier to stay silent. Nancy could have ignored the signs, could have walked away, could have chosen her own safety over someone else's life. But she didn't. She chose to be brave. She chose to matter. Lazaro spent years surrounded by people who wanted something from him. Money, power, protection, favors. But Nancy wanted nothing except for him to live. That kind of pure intention is rare and precious. It changed not just his life, but his entire worldview. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your country or city in the comments below. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that everyone deserves to be seen and valued, hit that like button. If you want more stories about unlikely heroes, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and love that transforms lives, subscribe and turn on notifications. Share this with someone who needs to be reminded that they matter, that their choices count, that they have the power to change lives. If you want more powerful stories like this one, comment more stories and let me know what themes you want to explore next. Before you go, answer these 3 questions in the comments. First, would you have done what Nancy did? Risked everything to save someone you barely knew? Second, do you believe people like Lazaro can truly change, or is transformation just a fantasy? And third, who's the most invisible person in your life who deserves to be seen and appreciated? Thank you for being here, for reading, for caring about these characters and their journey. Your support means everything. Every view, every like, every subscription tells us that these stories matter to you. Until next time, remember, you have the power to save lives just by choosing to see people, to act when it matters, to be brave when it's easier to be silent. Be someone's Nancy Hart today.